Buenos nachos, and welcome to another episode of Building Davetopia. As requested in the comments from my last video, today I'll be doing a quick tutorial on building iron farms. First, I want to give credit to the good people at minecraft.gamepedia.com. The iron farm I'm using is a version of one of their models. The main reason why I'm doing this tutorial is that, while their site in general is quite helpful, their directions for this iron farm weren't nearly as well written out as I would have liked. On the one hand, they were missing several helpful parts, and on the other hand, some of their instructions really seemed counterproductive. I figured it also might be easier to get all of the necessary instructions from a single video, rather than to have to search out multiple pages to get the full instructions. Anywho, I'm going to move on from this because you wants iron and you wants it now. Before you get started, there are a few things to consider. First is what you need to have to be able to build your iron farm. You need at least 2 villagers to start an iron farm, but it's a good idea to breed them up to at least 8 before you begin. Granted, you'll need at least 10 for the iron farm to work when it's finished, but as long as you haven't hit the villager population cap, breeding them up from 8 is easy enough. You'll need 17 or 18 stacks of cobblestone to build this. If you wanted to, you could use something besides cobblestone, but since cobblestone's so common, that's probably the easiest thing to use. You'll need 64 doors, so that'll be basically 2 stacks of wood, and with that wood you'll also want to make 4 signs. You'll need 18 buckets of water, but if you want to use fewer buckets, you could always just make more trips and refill the buckets. You'll need at least 1 bucket of lava, 2 buckets if you want to look really nice. You'll also need dirt, sand, or more cobblestone to build a ramp up to the tower. Now, it doesn't really matter what it is, any material of your choice will work, but it would have to be some sort of a block that you could place rails on top of. It's also important to remember torches or glowstone or some sort of light source, because you don't want anything nasty spawning anywhere inside of the farm or near it. And if you really want to maximize an efficiency and be lazy like me, then you want to put 2 hoppers and 2 chests at the base of the tower to collect the iron, and I'll show you where to do that a little bit later. Now that you have everything you need to build your tower, you need to decide where you want to build your iron farm. It's easiest to build one next to an existing village, like the one you see here, but often that's not the best place for it. If you have the supplies necessary to build a long rail system, you could build your iron farm in an area where you want to do a lot of work, like this one right here. That will give you the most bang for your buck in terms of the maximum amount of resources you could get while you're working. If you're playing on anything other than peaceful, you'll also want to pick a place that is easily defensible. It doesn't help anyone if all your villagers get killed or if a creeper makes an escape route for your iron golems. If you don't have much iron or gold, you could always build your first iron farm near a village, and then later on build a second one in a better spot. I usually like to do all of my recordings as often as possible in survival mode, but since I already have 2 iron farms in my survival world, as you saw, and I just finished building one in a friend's world, I'm going to build this one for you in my creative world. I have, however, put it on survival mode, so you can see a realistic example of what it looks like being built in more or less the same way that you're probably going to do it. Once you've picked out your spot and you have the materials to begin, go ahead and lay out the base just like this. A 2x2 space in the middle is empty, and each side around it gets 2 blocks. Then make each one of those 10 high. Now for this part and through the rest of the video, after I show the basic example of what to do, I'm going to speed past the rest so you don't have to waste your time watching me doing this. Once that's done, you'll probably want to way up. A ladder is the easiest way, and you could always put it right here like this, or however you want to do it works as well. Now you can start on the platform itself. To keep from accidentally falling down, I usually like to crouch when I'm working on stuff like this. Sure, you move slower, but you don't waste time having to climb back up. So you want to add 8 blocks to each side, so that means add 8 north side, 8 south side, 8 east, and 8 west. When you're finished, this will give you a platform that's basically 20 blocks by 20 blocks, and then there's a hole in the middle of it. At some point in time, you may want to put dirt or wool in that hole so that you don't fall down. Even if you don't do it right now, later on it will be pretty handy to put it in there, and I'll talk about that more later. I also like to use wool on a lot of my projects to help measure out what I'm working on, so I don't have to do time-consuming fixes later. On top of the border of your platform, add a 1-block tall wall. I like placing a block on the corner so that I can quick build while walking backwards without falling off. And it seems to go a little bit faster that way, as I've learned while I've been building my main tower. Now you'll finish this wall, and I'll sleep so that you don't have to watch me working in the dark. This next part is a bit difficult to explain verbally, but what you'll do is you go to each corner and build 7 blocks out each way. Then you'll stair step it in and over, so you end up with basically 7 stairs on the ground. I repeat this for each corner, and now when you're done with that part you want it to look like this, where you have 4 spaces between each of the corner sections, and then the 4 corner sections with the 7 stair parts. Now you can begin with the walls. You go 3 blocks up in the corner, then 7 over, and you'll make another post. Note that leaves you with 6 spaces in between. Then you go 5 blocks over and do your next post. Again, that leaves you 4 spaces in between. Then you could do the next corner, again going 3 up with, and then fill in the space in the middle. So each of the side parts should have 6 spaces, and the one in the middle should have 4 spaces. There are a few ways you could do this next part, and depending on how much of a visual perfectionist you are, you might need to do a bit of cleanup outside after you're finished. 1 block out from the walls, seal off these areas here. Only seal the 2 6-block areas, not the middle one with the 4 spaces. I like to work outside in like you see here, so that the 1 extra block doesn't look too terrible if I leave it there. If you haven't begun lighting your tower, anywhere from here on out is a good place to start. One easy way to do interior lighting is to place a few blocks of sand, and then put a glowstone block on top. You could also place a stone block and then put torches on the sides, whatever floats your boat. Just make sure it's high enough that it won't interfere with your iron golem spawning. If you're playing on harder difficulty settings, you could always add more lights on the outside and inside to be safe. Now that your walls are mostly done, you can make your villager holders. As with the previous step, there are a couple of ways you could do this that might require some cleanup afterwards. I like putting a 4x4 platform off the ledge here, then build 3 up around the border. You have to put these in the most random order possible, otherwise the iron golems won't spawn. This leaves you with a center space that is 2 by 2 and 3 high, where the villagers are actually going to be when you're finished. The original guide suggested putting water in each of the holders, but I wouldn't do that if I were you. It just makes the villagers jump a lot, which makes them harder to trade with, and ended up making a lot of lag for anyone else who was playing in my world, and basically anytime they came near the iron farm it was almost unplayable. Getting back to the topic, be careful when you're building these, or when you're trading with the villagers later on, so that you don't fall down into these little holes. If you do, you'll become trapped yourself. Now granted, you can escape, but depending on how you choose to get out of there, you'll probably end up either killing some villagers, risk them escaping, or both. Again, you want to make sure you light these, because darkness is not your friend. You have several options at this point. The remaining steps are to put the villagers in the holders, put doors in their slots, place water, and build a little exit for your farm. Place the signs and place the lava. While the order in which you do these is mostly arbitrary, I like putting in the villagers next so they can start breeding as quickly as possible. Although I suppose it's probably a good idea to put at least some of the doors, because the villagers won't breed if there aren't enough doors. And it's easy to do, so we'll do doors first. So as we're building the rest of it, the builders can be breeding and making more villagers. For the doors, basically just put one in each slot that's open for one. I'm not too worried about appearances, and again, this is in my creative world, so I don't have to look at it later. But if you are someone who wants things to look perfect, you might want to mess around with the placement so the doors all look properly aligned. Now for the villagers. Wherever you build your iron farm, you'll need at least a small rail system to get the villagers into their holders. This means wood, iron, gold, and redstone. You'll need to make these into some regular rails, some power rails, and some redstone torches, as well as at least one minecart. If you're really low on gold and can't build many powered rails, test your ramp out using it yourself. If you can make it up, a villager should be able to also. If you can't get up the tower in the minecart, well, then you probably need to either get back to mining or build yourself a gold farm. After you build your ramp up, making sure that you leave a suitable place for the rails and the torches, set a rail along the top and curve it into one of the villager holders. It's usually best, whenever you have a ramp going uphill, to intersperse your powered rails. If you put more than one powered rail together, that means you need to place fewer redstone torches. Now this part here is arguably the most difficult and frustrating part of the whole process. You have to push a villager into the cart, then push the cart down the rail line without the cart flying away. I only placed one block here, but you can place a block on either side until you get the villager in there. I do need to mention one thing. For those of you who are transporting villagers over a long distance, you need to be careful. As long as you aren't over the villager population limit, your villagers shouldn't despawn even if you get too far away. But if you are over the population limit, then you might need to call the herd in one or more of your villages enough so you could get them moving. When I built my second iron farm, as you might have seen earlier in the video, I had a pretty long rail system, and I ended up having a few villagers disappear because apparently if you're over the population limit, they'll despawn on you. Remember that part where I said to make sure you don't fall into the villager holders? Well, for this step, forget that part. You or a friend standing at your iron farm will need to jump down and very carefully break the minecart so the villager can get out. Now make sure that you don't hurt the villager when you're doing this, and also that you don't accidentally break a hole in your farm. Once he's out of the cart, you'll place a block you don't mind losing, jump on it, place one more block, then jump out. You need to do it quickly enough that the villager doesn't follow you. Then you break those blocks and sadly wave goodbye as they disappear forever. Repeat this so that there are at least 2 villagers in each holder, so you should have at least 8. If you bred them more, so you have at least 10 or 12, that's fine. If not, they should breed by themselves. You could just curve the rails around to each holder, and depending on how much speed they had when they hit the top, that should be good, but if you didn't have enough powered rails, you might need to set up a few at the top, or if you don't have any more powered rails, you could always just push the villagers around until they fall into the holes. At a minimum, you should have at least 8 villagers now. If you chose to do the villagers first and haven't placed doors yet, go ahead and do the doors now. The villagers should start breeding, assuming you haven't met your population limit. And as I mentioned earlier, you need at least 10 villagers for the iron golems to spawn. I like to keep it at 12 or more, at least 3 per holder, for a couple reasons. That means you're safely over the threshold, and you'll also have more villagers for trading. Plus, if you have villagers that are offering trades that you don't want, like trading 4 diamonds for 1 emerald, you could always just kill them and let them breed more. And looky here, we already have an iron golem in our farm. After that part, and again the order is a bit arbitrary, you can build the bottom section out from the base. This part will be 3 blocks high and 4 blocks long. You could always make it a little bit longer if you wanted to, or if you need to. The part at the end is most important, however. At the end you place 2 blocks across so that the golem, who is 3 blocks tall, can't pass it, but so that you can. Then place your signs like this. If there are other people playing in your world, you might want to leave a warning message, but you don't have to. It might be fun to watch lava take one of your friends out. Once the signs are there, you place lava in just like that. The signs won't burn, but they'll make sure the lava doesn't go anywhere it's not supposed to. It works just fine with one bucket of lava, but if you like things looking nice and even, you could add another bucket of lava to the other side for the sake of symmetry. At this point, iron golems could and should be spawning. If you've placed in the water already, it's pushing them to their death. If you haven't, place 2 buckets of water in the back of your base. I'm going to add some blocks here so it looks a little bit better. Let's head back up to the main farm to finish that part. Place the water like so, with 2 buckets in each of these spots in front of the middle doors. Once you're finished with all 4, there should be an X that isn't flooded. Then place 1 bucket in each of the corners. That makes sure that no matter where the golems spawn, barring some weirdness, he should get pushed into the drop in the middle. I mentioned earlier that it's helpful to have dirt or wool in the middle, and part of the reason is that so when you're placing the water, it doesn't push you down before you're ready. And voila! Free iron and roses for everyone. The building itself shouldn't require any maintenance once it's complete. However, very rarely an iron golem will spawn on top of the walls, and I've even seen one spawn inside one of the villager holders. So it's a good idea to check it every once in a while. If you're doing a lot of trading, which you should be, then they're pretty easy to spot when you're going out for trading. Other than that, as long as it's adequately lit, no major problems should arise. Again, I probably should note that if you're well below your villager population limit when you build this, the holders could become overly full. This isn't a major issue, but sometimes it's good to go through and kill unproductive villagers. Also, if you don't like seeing them fly out of the cups, usually them flying out of the cups is a result of there being too many villagers here. So for a brief explanation on how and why this works. Anytime you have a door with an uneven number of blocks on one side or the other, it is considered to be a house. Don't ask me why it is, that's just how it is. So basically each of these doorways, since it has an uneven number of blocks on the one side from the other, is considered a house. So you have plenty of houses in your iron farm village. The other thing for it needs to have to be considered a village is a villager. Well, you put those in there, so now you have a village. Iron golems will automatically spawn in any village that has enough doors and enough villagers, which is why you need at least 10 villagers for them to spawn. So basically, given how small each of the cups are and the fact that it's centered over the water, it should almost 100% of the time make an iron golem spawn in the middle. Once they spawn, all the water that you place pushes them towards the hole, pushes them down, and because they're too tall to get out, the lava kills them. So that is the quick and dirty explanation of how your village works. Also, as a side note, one of the reasons why you want so many doors is it's not just for the iron golems, but it's also for the villagers. If you have a village in your world and you notice that villagers aren't spawning, it's because there are too few houses. So if you want villagers to breed in any village, whether it's for an iron farm or a real village, build more houses for them. Again, it doesn't need to be a complex house. Anything where there's a door and an uneven number of blocks on one side than the other is considered a house. So you could basically put a block down like this and put 4 doors around it, and that's considered to be 4 houses. So if you want to be lazy and you don't care how it looks like, just put a bunch of these around a village and your villagers should start breeding like crazy. Again, as I've said in my previous videos, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. If you have a comment, don't hesitate, and I hope this has been something you've enjoyed. Plenty more videos to come, so if you want to learn more, don't hesitate to subscribe. We're happy to have you.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
Nope, I'm pretty sure I can refuse that.